These are stories of the saints. Before Francis of Assisi stepped into God's light, he was a wastrel, fond of partying, the very pampered son of a wealthy Umbrian merchant. When Francis was 20 years old, escalating tensions with the neighboring city of Perugia threatened to erupt into a major war. Like most young men from prosperous families at the time, Francis longed to prove his manhood and his bravery on the battlefield.
Fellow citizens, they took what they liked from our harvest, the stocks from our shelves. They took what they liked from our earnings. And we stood up to them. Let us never forget that. And we won. We were granted what was rightfully ours. And now this vermin are coming back for us again. We will fight them again, and we will beat them again! Yeah! To battle! To battle!
Now, the fighting was nothing like what Francis imagined. Medieval warfare was chaotic, unsparingly brutal. Men were hacked apart, speared, gutted, left to die where they lay. Turns out, Assisi was routed by the Perugians. Francis survived, but he was taken prisoner and he was held for ransom.
I can't get warm. I can't. Don't you touch me! Don't you touch me!
Help! There is a diseased man among us. Are you all right, Francis?
This man Francis is sick. Tell his father to pay the ransom. You're burning up. When will your ransom be paid?
I don't know. My father is stubborn. What about you?
My mother would have to do a year's washing to pay a soldier's ransom. My master wouldn't pay a dime for me.
He's a man of Assisi. Who? Which family?
His father is my master.
After a year of suffering and misery, Francis's family finally paid his ransom.
My son. What have they done to you?
He returned, but he was broken in body and spirit. So he worked at his father's fabric business, but he was a changed man. Francis went searching. He went wandering the countryside. What was he searching for? Meaning in his life. What he found was a rundown chapel on the outskirts of town.
Francis. Don't you see that my house is being destroyed? Go then, and rebuild it for me.
You could say that Francis spent the rest of his life interpreting the message of God which he received in the abandoned church of San Damiano. First step was to return the place to a house of worship, but that cost money. And Francis got it by stealing imported fabrics from his father's exchange and selling them for gold.
Father, thank you for coming. I'm Francis from Assisi.
I know who you are. The son of Bernardone, the fabric merchant.
Yes, it's me.
Why have you brought me to this place?
I am giving this gift to you to begin repairs of the church and to keep a lamp burning before the image of our Savior. Will you do this?
Why?
I was visited by the Lord. And he instructed me to rebuild the church. So please, you must do this, please.
I won't touch this money. And I'll make sure to tell your father that he's raised a scoundrel.
What? You will not accept money for Mother Church? After the Lord spoke to me?
I don't know who's been speaking to you, but it's certainly not the Lord.
Pick up the money. You know you'll go hunting for it after I'm out of sight.
An abomination. Thievery is an abomination. Repent!
To Francis's father, his son's theft was an insult and a betrayal. So much so that he brought the matter before the Bishop of Assisi.
Your father, Pietro di Bernardone, has accused you of stealing from him. Do you admit this or deny it?
I admit it freely. I gave that money to a priest for the repair of the chapel of San Damiano.
My son, your father is rightfully angry and scandalized. Give him back what you stole from him and ask for his forgiveness.
I will gladly return to my father what is rightfully his. From here on, I will serve God and only God, and all of his children in need. Here before me are goods, rightfully mine, valued at exactly the amount you seek from me in compensation. Your forgiveness I will not seek. Forgiveness is not a legal matter. It lives in the soul. It lives in God.
Someone bring something to cover this child of God. I would give you my own cape, my son, but I'm afraid you would refuse it.
Thank you.
Francis, you must love and sustain yourself so that you can love and sustain others.
Francis centered and grounded himself by spending time in nature. He found divine inspiration in every facet of God's creation.
My brother birds, praise your Creator. Love him always. He clothed you with feathers and gave you wings to fly. Among all his creatures, he made you free. He gave you the purity of the air.
Where do you want these?
Oh, just put them there. There. Thank you.
What a marvel! What a joy! God be praised, you truly have done as God asked you to do, Francis.
Francis, my house needs to be rebuilt. Rebuild my house.
Out of my way, please.
I didn't mean to stand in your way.
If you have something for me, Then throw it to the ground.
I have nothing. I'm sorry.
If you have no arms for me, then please, move on.
Why?
You didn't hear my bell. It's been 16 years since I was embraced.
You found the brother now.
Yeah.
Yes. Come. Is this your house?
The church, not a building made of stone, not a hierarchy of priests and deacons, but the way of Jesus. That became the basis of a new order. Word of Francis's beliefs spread throughout the countryside, and more brothers joined. The order kept growing.
The kingdom of heaven is near. Heal the sick ones. Raise the dead. Wash the lepers. And just cast out all the devils. And give. Give as freely as we receive. Never wear gold or silver. Never hoard money away. We don't need it. Make these the words of the Lord. More than just words.
Francis rejected the very idea of a hierarchy or a leadership. He thought and spoke of himself, and he acted as the equal of his fellow brothers. And his only directive was to follow the way of Jesus. But as the order continued to grow, different temperaments came into play.
No.
A young woman from a noble family who had run away from home came to visit Francis, to join his order. Her name was Claire, who later became a saint as revered as Francis. Claire of Assisi. A companion in the way of Jesus, a beloved friend, possibly his most beloved friend.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I thought on this for many days and nights.
By giving away everything we have, we find that we lack for nothing.
What a great endless joy. Have I said something wrong, Brother Francis?
No. No, your joy gives me such joy. It reminds me of my own joy when I saw the way of the light. But I must tell you this. Your joy will wither away like a cut flower. On a day when work will seem too hard, when someone curses you for the bread you give them, or when you feel a dryness in your heart, doubt, it will come. Doubt. Doubt's not evil. We have to embrace it. It's a human response to the infinite mystery of life. It will come and go. But you can't just follow my words. You have to live it all. And it takes so much courage, Claire. I pray that you will see your faith shine through everything, burning brighter and brighter. Do you understand?
I understand. Yes. I understand. I do.
There's so much to be done to make this a holy Christian world.
In the summer of 1219, Francis decided to undertake a long and fraught journey to join the Fifth Crusade in Egypt. That's where the Christian army was preparing the way to retaking Jerusalem. Francis was attempting something unthinkable, impossible, and actually suicidal: to convert the Saracen Muslim leader to Christianity. To a man as devout as Francis, the conversion of the known world to Christianity was the ultimate goal. This was sanctified by God. But when Francis arrived in Egypt, he witnessed a shocking scene that just complicated the picture. Francis did go to speak with Sultan al-Malik al-Kamil, who was the nephew of the great leader Saladin. But the accounts differ wildly. He might have been beaten and forced to walk over crosses, or he might have been kidnapped by the Saracens, or he might have met the Sultan by accident. But it's certain that they did meet. that they spoke, and that the outcome of their meeting surprised both of them.
Your Excellency, my name is Francis. I am a brother in God. I have come with the Christian warriors. And I am a Christian, but not a warrior. I chose to travel here from Assis, which is a very small town, very far away, to appear before you without weapons or without soldiers behind me, and to speak from my heart, which is with God, and to humbly ask you to join me in my faith, the Christian faith, because it's the only straight road to salvation. I will testify to you, because I have seen the light of God with my eyes as a young man. And I came to understand that the way of God is the way of love. There is no choice. It is the way of peace, within, but also without.
Peace.
Yes.
Have you come here as a representative of the Christian army?
No, I've not.
So when you speak of peace, it's not in any kind of official capacity.
I only speak as a man of God who follows the way of Jesus.
In my faith, Jesus is considered to be a great, unholy man.
He is.
The Christian soldiers, they have not come in peace. Then again, how could they? They're soldiers fighting a war. How often do you pray, Brother Francis?
I pray with each breath.
I pray 5 times every day of my life. I pray to be delivered from waging war. But that prayer hasn't been answered. As you can see,
I have been to war. But I've never had to send other men into battle. What a heavy burden you carry.
this is not something I would speak of to most people. But I've told you because I see that you're a man of the greatest faith. My advisors, they told me of your coming and they warned me that you would attempt to convert me. And they suggested that I have you executed, if you did.
I have always been prepared to die for my faith. I'm ready to die now.
I've decided not to act on their suggestion.
You will allow me to keep speaking, Your Excellency.
Of conversion, no. Of yourself, yes. I see with the eyes of my faith, as it is for you, with your faith. Yes?
Yes.
You're disappointed I've denied you martyrdom, I think.
My vanity is a terrible thing.
My friend, to condemn me to death would be an evil reward to bestow on a man who risked death to save my life before the God of his faith. And we both know that martyrdom is a paltry thing compared to the glory of life.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
Francis's disappointment in himself was bitter. He judged himself a complete failure. He returned to Italy discouraged and physically debilitated. His vision was severely impaired by trachoma.
In 2 days, Brother Francis, after you've rested, we will have the assembly of the order. Oh, yes, yes. Has it grown since I was gone? In the thousands now. Thousands? Never counted. With so many, there are now so many new problems.
Our only responsibility is to God.
Quiet, old man.
This is Francis. Francis!
Brother Francis, please forgive me. I forgive you, of course. Look out and see all the men assembled here. And there are many more than these. You planted a seed, and a great tree grew. And now...
I will speak now. But not as a founder, but as a fellow brother. I hear you speaking to each other with such hatred and resentment that I find myself without the will to impose myself on you or make any judgment.
Near the end of his life, as illness ravaged his body and doubt shadowed his soul, a vision came to Francis. An angelic vision.
Divine Jesus, let me come closer to you, so that my heart, with its tenderest affections, may acknowledge your infinite love, that my memory may dwell in the mysteries.
Claire?
You're troubled, my brother.
I failed at everything I set out to do. Brothers are at odds with each other. I saw our faith violated by our own holy crusaders. I failed to convert the Sultan. But on the ship coming home, I had a strange thought. I might still become a father. I would renounce my vows, Claire.
I was even denied martyrdom.
Why would anyone want to deprive the world of you?
Because it's the faith that's important, not my miserable life. I deserve to just linger here and die in darkness. Lord,
wanting in this life was to stay on your path. Most High, all powerful, all good Lord, all praise is yours, all glory, all honor, and all blessing. To you alone, Most High, do they belong. No mortal lips are worthy to pronounce your name. Be praised, my Lord, through all your creatures, especially through my Lord brother's Son, who brings the day, and you give light through him. And he is beautiful and radiant in all his splendor. Of you, Most High, he bears the likeness.
Francis has become one of the more sentimental the saints, in a sense. His life, for me, more than any other saint, raises the question of what does it mean, really, to follow the way of Jesus.
But the real Francis, I mean, I think we've domesticated him. We've domesticated him. He's charming. He's in a little statue in our gardens, and he likes the birds. But the real Francis, the one we see in this film, was a really radical guy who talked about radical poverty. He's the one of all the saints who most closely follow Christ.
I had a professor at university who liked to point out that one of the Gospels has "Blessed are the poor," and another of the Gospels has "Blessed are the poor in spirit."
Right.
And for this professor, the whole story of Catholicism is the tension between blessed are the poor and blessed are the poor in spirit.
True.
That between the literal taking poverty seriously and the more figurative thinking of poverty as a metaphor, where even a man living in a palace can say, I'm poor because I'm celibate or whatever.
Yeah.
And Francis, more than anybody else, blessed are the poor. Dante depicted Francis as having a romance with Lady Poverty. And that poverty was his bride. Incredible.
Material poverty is an evil. I mean, the fact that people are living as refugees and poor. But the people who choose to live simply and who choose not to participate in a world of things and a world of objects is very threatening to people. And I think that's why Francis was and is threatening still today.
We think of Francis as being the person who most perfectly imitated Christ. Is that how you put it?
Mm-hmm.
So I forget that it was a conversion, that he started off someplace else, that he had to witness the violence of war, the loneliness of imprisonment, and the despair of being shunned by his own family before he had to get to the place where he's preaching to the birds, loving all creation, and living as a mendicant. That I'm just not used to think of him as a convert, really, but it's so powerful to see it dramatized.
But I think, each of the saints goes through a certain kind of conversion. Francis is, his father's a cloth merchant. One of the reasons he's named Francesco is because the father apparently went to France and loved all French things, right? So he's very traveled, he's very cultured. And he eventually finds that, like a lot of the saints do, empty, right? And then he sees a better way. And then God ratifies all that through the visions, through the voices, and ultimately through the stigmata, which is the first time that happens in the lives of the saints.
How many stigmatas have there been?
Hard
among
to
the
say.
saints?
Not many. So for people who don't quite understand it, it's experiencing physically the wounds of Christ. And people might say, well, that sounds masochistic. But on the part of the saints, it's the desire to be as closely united with Christ as possible.
And it's something that has always been sort of obviously controversial. But I think in terms of the stigmata of Francis and the others who've had it has to do, I think, with the spiritual change in the person, that it's a kind of spiritual transcendence and expresses itself through the flesh and blood.
Well, the supernatural is natural in ways we don't understand.
Yes, we don't know. But what do we know? We should know that we don't know. Constantly things are being discovered and constantly being analyzed, and there's new forms of matter and dark matter and that sort of thing. We don't really know.
The philosopher Charles Taylor talks about moving out of an enchanted world, right? That the world is kind of disenchanted. And so when people hear stories about the stigmata or miracles, that they don't have many people don't have as much experience with it. And so it's very off-putting, and it can really shut people off from the life of Christ.
It's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
One has to understand that the mind is finite. And this is the issue. The mind is finite. Well, consciousness is all of this. It kind of cuts off the search in a way. It has to do with this sense of conviction. We know everything.
Yes.
What do we know? That's mind.
It's also you don't have to know anything to practice faith. I mean, in a way, the most radical thing that any of us do, and I tell my students this all the time, is to hope. But that's what Francis teaches us to do. And that thing of trying to live moment to moment and lean into the light wherever it comes on, just no matter what you call it or what you name it, or because I think people think in order to read about the saints or learn about the saints, you have to be Catholic or you have to sign up. But it's not about doctrine, is it? It's about what you do.
That's true. Yeah.
If you look at the stories in the life of Francis that are part of the historical record, they're so extraordinary that they would strain credulity. So he lives to 44. You figure he's in his late teens, early 20s when he has the whole conversion experience. So in about 20 years, he changes his way of life radically, gathers several thousand people who have resolved to live the same way, somehow gains an audience with the Sultan, has this conversation that takes things to a new place, gets back to Italy, and then has the stigmata. That's so extraordinary.
It's
That's 20 years like nobody's ever lived.
Plus starting an order that is still around today.
Yes. Exactly. Yes,
Right
yes.
after the Pope was elected, Cardinal from Brazil, Cardinal Humes, leaned over and said to him, "Don't forget the poor." And then when he went out on the balcony, he chose the name Francis. First Pope ever to choose that name. To me, it's amazing that no Pope has ever been named Francis.
It is because the closest that they came to anybody acting like Francis was Celestine V.
Who they got rid of in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. But no, I think Francis's order did build up, and he did come back, and he was a little concerned, as they say, about the nature of what was happening, and they sort of echo the greater conflicts between worldly power, spiritual understanding, discipline and freedom. I don't know, is this because of just so many people joining the order?
And it's natural at that time to want to sort of start a religious order. And so religious order starts, but Francis is, as they say, the charismatic founder, right? He's not the one to kind of organize a religious order. He doesn't want to organize a religious order. He doesn't want them to have anything. There's a story, I think, in the Little Flowers that they start to build a house and he takes the tiles off the roof. You know, Francis's order eventually doesn't know what to do with them, because in a sense, it goes in a different direction. And he, in a sense, he's too radical to have people follow him. But the Franciscans, let me say, the Franciscans are wonderful and do their best to follow St. Francis. But you need organization, you need rules, you need structures.
I know.
To do anything.
And it's no surprise that he wasn't really able to be a bureaucrat as well as being Francis of Assisi.
That's the word, right. He's not Francis the bureaucrat. I mean, you have so many saints who seem to be like a failure, right, in their earthly lives. Even Jesus, I mean, from an earthly standpoint, right, apart from the resurrection, his mission at the end seems like a failure.
Yes.
Right. So there are a lot of saints like that, and there are a lot of saints who start religious orders who have disbanded now. But I think God looks at failure and success a lot differently.
I hope so.
I know so.